the different kinds of avocado. These real thin, they're real good, those dark avocados.
I don't know how it's happened. They let me leave the farm. Next thing you know, I'm in Atlisco, Mexico, headquarters of the Bearhawk kit planes factory. This is it, right behind me. They work hard, they work fast, they're efficient, they seem to know what they're doing. Their welding beads look perfecto. Luckily they don't understand what I'm saying, and I don't understand what they're saying, so everyone gets along really well. Hanging out in the backyard of the factory are our brothers, Augustine and Luis. They keep this factory running like a top. A very loud top at times, but not to worry. There are plenty of regulations down here. More than I expected. I hopped around the factory for a few days with a camera trying to capture the excitement. From a project management standpoint, they have it all figured out. They're organized and streamlined. Everyone is always busy and nobody ever seems to be waiting. Parts of it were like an assembly line, while other parts of the factory were like a tag team wrestling match. There was always movement everywhere. All of the parts are made here at the factory, with the exception of the wing ribs, which are hydroformed back in the States and then shipped here. I had the most fun watching this wing come together. The spars are started by this department that works along the wall. Attach points are hand cut and drilled using templates.
Go ahead and drill those with that.
Next, the spars move over to Pedro and Caesar. These guys really communicate well together. Once the main ribs are installed, they move it over to this vertical skinning jig. They pin it in place. There are feet under the wing to keep it from sagging. Pedro is making a skin stiffener that supports the skin over the fuel tank bay. I was lucky enough to witness the development of auxiliary fuel tanks. Mark decided it looked good, but they could make them even a little larger than shown in this video.
This is up here like this when it actually gets fitted in place. 215 or 20 sets of wings. Wow. These two guys.
These are the wing skins. First they will size each skin one at a time and mark them with a Sharpie. Next they'll drill holes through the skins and the ribs all at once. Pedro is taking out every single cleco, because from here they will deburr and then dimple every single hole. I was certain that these guys were annoyed with me doing endless drive-by camera shootings, but at one point Caesar came and got me to make sure I didn't miss Pedro dimpling these holes. They adapted this dimpler to make it much more efficient.
Vas a ser famoso, Pedrito. ¿Ya? Sí. Conocido internacionalmente.
After all these holes are dimpled, they will be riveted, but I didn't stick around for that part. When the guys are done, they'll bring the wings over to this shipping department.
The cable comes on top of that pulley, and if there's a pulley mounted right there,
This is the state you will receive a wing in if you buy a quick build kit.
it's connected to the bell crank right there, and then the same cable goes all the way through the back of the wing, through the upper part of the fuselage, to the bell crank in the other wing. It comes with a few pop rivets holding it in place for travel, for shipping, but this is what you lift up to install all your systems. Your aileron, bell crank, and your flat mechanism.
This is a fuel tank in the making. This large sheet is going to be the body of the tank. And this little sheet is going to be one of the end caps. He rivets everything together. The rivets are aluminum, and they will be completely welded over. They essentially just hold it together until Oscar, the lead welder, seals it all up. Moving on to the fuselage. Everything's cut by hand from sheets or tubes of 4130 steel. Augustine is describing the process to some fellow aviators. This piece will become part of the tail. It's an elevator rib. After it's cut out, it will be bent around a die and eventually will be welded in place on a jig. You are looking at hours of skilled work in that pile. It makes my little experimental heart patter. Here Oscar's finishing up a set of rudder pedals. These planes are put together using 3 types of welding. Primarily gas is used. Some parts are TIG'd, and as you can see they tack pieces in place with a MIG. This is a jig for an engine mount. This is a hinge that holds the elevator on. Now they're fitting that hinge up to the stabilizer. It's all shipped as a set, so everything fits perfectly. These guys will tack the hinges in place for now, and then gas weld it later. This is a seat all tacked together in a jig. And these are the final welds being put on that same seat. These nice welds will be even apparent after the paint job. Before parts are painted, they will be sandblasted.
The head of production at the factory, Augustine, is doing an inspection of the first Bearhawk Model B fuselage.
Augustine is spot checking this fuselage and marking the spots that could use a little more attention. After round 2, they'll bring the fuselage outside and get many eyeballs on it to ensure it's ready for paint. They wear rubber gloves to keep oil off of the clean metal. Now they will hit it with a primer. Next, it's time for a top coat. They use a 2-part epoxy. This video doesn't show you all of the process, but at least now you know where a Bearhawk comes from. And you didn't even have to whip out your passport.